Stop for a moment and think. Of all the possible families in the world, of all the men who could have been your father, why were you born exactly where you were? Why did your soul choose that specific man to be your father figure? This is not a casual question. It's one of the deepest questions of human existence, and the answer goes far beyond what you imagine. On the spiritual plane, even before we incarnate into this physical world, our souls make deliberate choices. Yes, you heard right. You chose your father. Your soul, in its infinite wisdom, knew exactly which kinds of experiences it would need to evolve, which lessons it would need to learn, which internal aspects it would need to develop or heal. Imagine, for a moment, that you are in a kind of cosmic planning room, observing different life possibilities. Your soul, together with other souls who will be part of your earthly journey, is defining the main relationships that will shape your evolution. And there, in that sacred moment, you consciously choose who will be your father. This choice is not random, nor based merely on romantic love or idealized affection. It's a strategic decision, deeply connected with your life purpose, your evolutionary challenges, and the experiences your soul needs to live in order to grow. Many people resist this idea, especially those who have had difficult relationships with their fathers. I would never choose someone who caused me so much suffering, they think. But here is the crucial point. Your soul does not choose only pleasant experiences. It chooses necessary experiences. Think of it this way. When you decide to take a hard course or accept a tough job, you know you will face obstacles, but you also know those challenges are necessary for your growth. Your soul operates in much the same way, but on a far larger scale. The concept of soul contracts is fundamental for understanding this process. Before being born, you and your father made a spiritual agreement. He agreed to play a specific role in your life, whether protector, challenger, absent, provider, or any other function your soul needed to experience. And you agreed to be his son or daughter, to learn through that specific dynamic. This contract isn't only about receiving unconditional love. Sometimes the greatest gift a father can give a child is precisely the challenge. The absent father teaches independence and self-reliance. The strict father teaches discipline and boundaries. The emotional father teaches vulnerability and expression. Each type of father brings a unique set of lessons. What's most fascinating is that this choice happens in an expanded state of consciousness, where you can see the full picture of your evolutionary journey. You aren't limited by the human perspective of good or bad. You see every experience as an opportunity to grow, each relationship as a chance to know yourself more deeply and become more whole. So, when you begin to understand that you chose your father, a profound transformation happens in your perspective. Victimhood turns into empowerment. Anger turns into understanding. Resentment turns into gratitude for a well-planned, perfectly executed lesson. This is just the first layer of a mystery that unfolds as you move forward. Because the truth about why your soul chose your specific father is intimately connected with who you are becoming and what your true purpose is in this life. Here is a truth that will revolutionize your understanding of fatherhood. The man who biologically fathered you isn't always the father your soul really chose for your most important lessons. This may sound confusing at first, but observe your own life. How many people do you know who were raised by grandparents, uncles, stepfathers, or even by men with no blood relation, who became the real father figures in their lives? And how many others grew up with a biological father physically present, yet emotionally absent? Your soul is far smarter than we usually imagine. It understands that the paternal lesson can come through different channels. Sometimes the biological father is only the gateway into this dimension, but the true paternal energy that shapes your personality comes from another source. Consider a child whose father abandons the family when they are still small. On the surface, it looks like tragedy, a failure in the divine plan. But look deeper. That absence creates the perfect space for another male figure to enter that child's life. Perhaps an uncle who teaches values a biological father never could, or a teacher who becomes the mentor the soul truly needed. Absence is also a form of fatherhood, The father, who is not physically present, is still fulfilling a fundamental role in the child's development. He is teaching independence, inner strength, how not to rely on external validation. Some souls choose absent fathers precisely because they need to learn how to parent themselves on the inside. There is a crucial difference between abandonment and conscious absence. When your soul chooses a father who will be absent, it is not choosing abandonment. It is choosing a very specific kind of lesson. The absence of that father creates a void that forces you to develop qualities you might never have discovered if he had been present. On the other hand, many people grow up in the same house as their biological fathers, but never truly develop a paternal connection. The man may be physically there, but the paternal energy, the force that guides, protects, challenges, and strengthens, simply does not flow. In those cases, the soul knows it will find paternal energy elsewhere. This explains why certain people feel more connected to teachers, bosses, mentors, or even fictional characters than to their own parents. These figures are fulfilling the true paternal role that the soul contracted for this life. If your biological father was not able to give you what you needed, it does not mean you were deprived of the paternal experience. It means your soul planned to receive that energy through other channels, perhaps even richer and more varied than a single source could offer. It also explains why some adopted children feel more connected to their adoptive parents than many biological children feel to their blood parents. The connection is not in the DNA. It is in the energetic resonance, in the compatibility of the lessons that need to be exchanged between these souls. When you embrace this perspective, you stop looking in the wrong place for what maybe should never have come from there. And you begin to recognize and value the true sources of paternal energy that your soul masterfully placed on your path. Now let's dive into one of the most uncomfortable and transformative truths about the relationship with your father. He is the perfect mirror of the aspects you have not yet integrated within yourself. Those characteristics of your father that most irritate you, that most bother you, that make you think, "I will never be like that," they are inside you too. And your soul chose this man specifically so you could face those aspects head-on every day of your childhood and youth. This is not a cruel coincidence of the universe. It is the intelligent design of your own higher consciousness. Carl Jung called this the shadow, that part of our personality that we reject, deny, or try to hide. We all have a shadow, and it contains both negative aspects we don't want to accept and positive qualities we cannot recognize in ourselves. Your father functions as a walking mirror of that shadow during the most formative years of your life. If he is explosive and you grew up hating that characteristic, observe. You have that same tendency stored within you, perhaps expressed differently. Maybe you don't shout, but you explode internally. Maybe you don't fight, but you cut people off coldly when you are angry. If your father is controlling, and that always suffocated you, look honestly at your own life. Where do you exercise control excessively? How do you react when things don't go as planned? The control you hate in him may be manifesting in you through the need to have everything organized, to not accept the unexpected, or to want the people around you to behave exactly as you expect. But here is the part most people miss. The shadow does not contain only negative aspects. If your father has qualities you admire but believe you could never have, such as his leadership ability, his determination, or his strength to face adversity, those qualities are also part of your shadow. You projected them onto him because you still cannot recognize them as your own. Projection is the psychological mechanism that makes us see in others what we cannot see in ourselves. When you project onto your father both your rejected qualities and your unrecognized qualities, he becomes the repository of everything you still need to integrate to become whole. That is why arguments with fathers are always so emotionally charged. We are not just arguing with another person, we are arguing with parts of ourselves we don't want to accept. The anger we feel is not just about his behavior, but about confronting aspects of ourselves we would rather pretend don't exist. The process of integrating the shadow through the paternal relationship is one of the deepest works a soul can do. When you stop resisting your father's characteristics and begin investigating where they exist in you, a powerful transformation happens. You stop being a victim of his patterns and become aware of your own patterns. This does not mean accepting toxic or harmful behaviors. It means recognizing that these behaviors echo something within you that needs to be seen, understood, and transformed. When you consciously integrate these aspects, they stop controlling you unconsciously. The beauty of this process is that when you recognize and integrate your own shadow qualities, you automatically develop more compassion for your father. You realize he too was dealing with his own shadow, often without the tools or awareness needed to handle it in a healthy way. Your soul chose this specific mirror because it knew that through him, you would be forced to face exactly what you most needed to become aware of. It was not a choice to punish you. It was a choice to free you from unconscious patterns that would limit your evolution. Every child is born into a world where someone has power over them, and traditionally that first figure of authority is the father. It is no coincidence that your soul chose a specific man to be your first teacher about how power works in this world. Your father was your first experience with hierarchy, rules, consequences, and boundaries. The way he exercised that authority, whether balanced, authoritarian, permissive, or absent, profoundly shaped your relationship with power for the rest of your life. Think about the people you know who had very controlling fathers. Many of them became natural leaders, independent entrepreneurs, or individuals with an exceptional ability to make decisions on their own. They learned, through oppression, the precious value of personal freedom. On the other hand, if your father was too permissive or absent in his authority, you were learning different lessons, perhaps about self-discipline, about creating your own internal structures, about becoming your own authority figure from an early age. Children who grow up without clear boundaries often develop early maturity and a capacity for self-regulation that others do not have. If you came here to be a leader, maybe you chose a father who showed you both the positive and negative aspects of leadership. If you came to break authoritarian patterns, you chose an authoritarian father to understand intimately how that system works and where it fails. The relationship with paternal authority also determines how you relate to bosses, teachers, government, social rules, and even to your own inner authority. Observe your patterns. Do you tend to rebel against any form of authority, or submit easily? Do you constantly seek approval from authority figures, or completely avoid leadership positions? Each of these tendencies has roots in your primordial paternal experience. The father who never praised you may have created someone who constantly seeks external validation. The father who praised everything may have created someone who cannot handle constructive criticism. The absent father may have created someone who rejects authority or, paradoxically, desperately seeks it. Once you recognize these patterns, you can consciously transform them. You don't have to repeat the same mistakes or remain trapped in the same limitations. Many people spend their whole lives reacting to paternal authority instead of learning from it. They define themselves in opposition to the father. He was like this, so I will be the opposite. But that is still being controlled by the paternal experience. True freedom comes when you extract wisdom from the experience and create your own model of personal power. The authoritarian father taught you about strength and determination, even if he overdid it. The permissive father taught you about flexibility and trust, even if structure was lacking. The absent father taught you about independence and self-confidence, even if support was missing. Your task is not to judge whether your father was good or bad in exercising authority. Your task is to extract wisdom from the experience and develop your own style of leadership, first over your own life, and then, if it is your purpose, over the lives of others. Now we enter deep territory, the possibility that you and your father already knew each other long before this life, that the patterns, dynamics, and even conflicts between you are continuations of stories that began in other incarnations. Family karma is one of the most powerful forces shaping our relationships in this life. It explains why some families are so united and harmonious, while others live in constant conflict. It explains why certain dynamics repeat generation after generation, as if they were programs running automatically. When your soul chose your father, it was not only looking at the lessons of this life, It was considering the entire history of interactions between you across multiple existences. Perhaps you have been father and child before, but with reversed roles. Perhaps you were siblings, friends, enemies, or even partners in some important endeavor. Imagine that in a past life you were an absent father, too focused on work, who did not give your children the necessary attention. In this life, your soul chose to experience the other side of that dynamic, having an absent father to understand viscerally what it is like to be the one who didn't receive attention. Or perhaps in another incarnation you had an unresolved conflict about power and authority. He may have been your superior and abused that position, or you may have challenged his authority disrespectfully. Now, you have returned in the father-child dynamic to work through these issues of power from a completely different perspective. Pause here for a moment. Have you ever felt that you had known your father forever, even as a child? Or, on the other extreme, always felt he was a stranger, even while living in the same house? Tell us in the comments which of these sensations you have experienced, a familiar stranger or a strange familiar. Karma is not a punishment. It is an opportunity for healing and growth. When two souls meet again in a new family configuration, they are creating chances to resolve pending issues, to develop qualities they could not develop before, to experience forgiveness where there was once hurt. Sometimes family karma manifests through patterns that seem impossible to break. The father who repeats exactly the mistakes of his own father, even being aware that he doesn't want to do so. The family where anger explodes in the same way, generation after generation. The same types of conflicts that repeat between parents and children, like a scratched record. These patterns are not personal failures. They are karmic information being processed through the family lineage. Your soul chose to be born into this specific family because it had the strength and awareness necessary to finally break these cycles. Recognizing family karma brings a completely different perspective to conflicts with your father. That argument you have repeatedly? It may be the echo of an issue you have been trying to resolve for several lifetimes. That specific way he irritates you? It may be a pattern that needs to be brought to consciousness and transformed. The good news is that when you awaken to this karmic perspective, the healing process accelerates exponentially. You stop taking things so personally and begin to see conflicts as opportunities for mutual evolution. You realize that both you and your father are souls doing the best you can with the tools you have at this moment. More importantly, you realize that you have the power to consciously end negative karmic cycles. When you choose to respond differently to the same old patterns, when you offer forgiveness where before there was only resentment, when you embrace understanding instead of blame, you are literally rewriting the karmic script between you. There is a deep truth that many people resist accepting. Your father, no matter how strong he seemed, carried wounds that came from long before he was born. And your soul chose him not only to learn from those wounds, but also to help heal them. Every family carries energetic patterns that are passed down from generation to generation like an invisible inheritance. Unresolved traumas, ancestral fears, limiting beliefs, dysfunctional relationship patterns, all of this is passed from parent to child like an emotional genetic code. Your father received this ancestral inheritance from his parents, who received it from their parents, in a chain that may go back several generations. That excessive rigidity that suffocated you? Perhaps it began with a great-grandfather who had to be tough to survive the war. That emotional difficulty that created distance between you? It may have originated in a lineage of men who learned that showing feelings was a sign of weakness. There is a deep truth that many people resist accepting. Your father, no matter how strong he seemed, carried wounds that came from long before he was born. And your soul chose him not only to learn from those wounds, but also to help heal them. Every family carries energetic patterns that are passed down from generation to generation, like an invisible inheritance. Unresolved traumas, ancestral fears, limiting beliefs, dysfunctional relationship patterns, all of this is passed from parent to child, like an emotional genetic code. Your father received this ancestral inheritance from his parents, who received it from their parents, in a chain that may go back several generations. That excessive rigidity that suffocated you? Perhaps it began with a great-grandfather who had to be tough to survive the war. That emotional difficulty that created distance between you? It may have originated in a lineage of men who learned that showing feelings was a sign of weakness. What is fascinating is that you did not choose to be born into this lineage by chance. Your soul volunteered to be a point of healing and transformation in this ancestral chain. You came to break patterns that had been perpetuated for decades, perhaps even centuries. Think about it. How many generations of men in your family repeated the same patterns? The absent father whose father was also absent. The man who didn't know how to show affection because he had never seen it at home. The explosive anger that passed from grandfather to father to son, like a family curse. But here lies the power of your mission. When you develop awareness of these patterns, when you choose to react differently, when you heal your own wounds related to fatherhood, you are not only freeing yourself, you are sending out a frequency of healing that reverberates both forward and backward in your family lineage. This may sound too mystical, but observe in practice. When you deeply heal from paternal issues, often other family members also begin to transform. Your father may begin to open emotionally in ways he never did before. Your siblings may begin to see the father from more compassionate perspectives. Even your children's relationship with authority figures may be different from yours. Family healing does not happen only on the personal level. It happens in the energetic field that connects the entire lineage. When you raise your own emotional frequency, you literally raise the frequency of the entire family tree. Your wounded father was, in fact, a disguised teacher. Through his wounds, you learned to recognize patterns that needed to be transformed. Through his limitations, you developed strengths you might never have discovered otherwise. Through the pain he unconsciously caused, you developed compassion and wisdom. When you look at your father through this ancestral lens, anger transforms into compassion. You realize that he too was a victim of patterns he did not consciously choose. This does not absolve him of responsibility for his actions, but it places those actions in a much broader context. True healing happens when you can honor both your own pain and the ancestral pain that shaped your father. When you stop perpetuating the same patterns, but also stop judging those who created them. When you become the link of transformation your lineage was waiting for. Before continuing, if you want to master this connection with the universe and learn to consciously manifest your reality, I invite you to the Quantum Thinking Challenge, a 21-day program where you will reprogram your mind, raise your vibration, and unlock your full energetic potential. For 3 weeks, you will have daily practices to transform your frequency and start attracting everything you desire. The first participants have already sent me incredible achievements that are showing up in their lives. Are you ready for yours too? Access it in the first pinned comment. Now, we arrive at one of the most surprising revelations about the choice of your father. Even in the most difficult and painful relationships, there are precious gifts hidden. Your soul knew this when it made the choice. These gifts rarely come wrapped in a pretty way. They arrive disguised as challenges, frustrations, disappointments, and even traumas. But when you develop eyes to see them, you realize that you received gifts you would never have discovered otherwise. The extremely critical father gave you the gift of excellence. Even though his criticism hurt at the time, it developed in you an ability to pay attention to detail, a pursuit of quality, and a determination to always give your best that many people never develop. You learned not to settle for mediocrity. The emotionally absent father gave you the gift of emotional independence. You developed powerful inner resources, learned to self-validate, to seek strength within yourself. This ability to remain emotionally stable without depending on others is a rare and valuable quality. The father who worked too much and was never present gave you the gift of self-determination. You learned early on to make your own decisions, to solve problems on your own, to trust your own judgment. This independence became one of your greatest strengths. Even the father with addictions or destructive behaviors gave you important gifts. Perhaps he developed in you an exceptional capacity for compassion for people who suffer. Perhaps he created an inner strength to deal with difficult situations that most people could not bear. Perhaps he awakened in you an early wisdom about the dangers of certain choices. What is interesting is that we often develop our greatest qualities as a direct response to our parents' limitations. The child of the controlling father becomes exceptionally resourceful and independent. The daughter of the father who did not express affection becomes someone who embraces and demonstrates love with a special intensity. The child of the pessimistic father develops an ability to find hope in the hardest situations. These are not just survival mechanisms. They are genuine qualities your soul wanted to develop, and your father was the perfect catalyst for them to emerge. When you shift your perspective and begin actively searching for the gifts you received through the paternal experience, something magical happens. You stop feeling deprived and start feeling enriched. You stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as someone specially equipped to face life. Your greatest traumas often become your greatest strengths. Your most painful experiences with your father often turn into the qualities that most distinguish you and empower you to help others. The person who grew up with an addicted father can become an exceptional therapist. The one who had an absent father can become an extraordinarily present parent. You did not come here just to suffer. You came to transform, to develop specific qualities, to become a more complete version of yourself. And ironically, when you recognize and embrace these disguised gifts, you often develop genuine gratitude for the paternal experience you had, exactly as it was. We arrive at the most transformative point, the moment you realize that forgiving your father is not a favor you do for him. It is the golden key that frees your own soul from invisible chains you have carried for years, perhaps decades. True forgiveness has nothing to do with absolving harmful behaviors or pretending the pain never existed. It has everything to do with refusing to carry the energetic weight of someone else's mistakes within your own heart. We arrive at the most transformative point of this entire journey, the moment you realize that forgiving your father is not a favor you do for him. It is the golden key that frees your own soul from invisible chains you have carried for years, perhaps decades. True forgiveness has nothing to do with absolving harmful behaviors or pretending the pain never existed. It has everything to do with refusing to carry the energetic weight of someone else's mistakes within your own heart. When you hold on to anger, resentment, or hurt against your father, you maintain a toxic, energetic connection with him that constantly drains your life force. It's like carrying a backpack full of stones. You may get used to the weight, but that doesn't mean it isn't limiting your movements and exhausting your energy. Forgiveness is the act of taking off that backpack and discovering how light and free you can really be. But here's the secret few understand. You don't need to feel like forgiving in order to forgive. True forgiveness is a conscious decision, not a spontaneous feeling. It is a strategic choice you make for your own well-being and evolution. Start by recognizing something fundamental. Your father did the best he could with the emotional, psychological, and spiritual tools he had at that moment. That does not mean his best was good enough. That does not mean he did not cause real harm. It means he was operating within the limitations of his own consciousness. If he had had more wisdom, more emotional healing, more spiritual awareness, he would have acted differently. The fact that he did not have these qualities is, in truth, part of his very limitation, and consequently, part of the lesson your soul wanted to learn through him. There is a powerful technique to facilitate this process of forgiveness. Visualize your father as a small child. See the fears, insecurities, and wounds that shaped his personality. Realize that the man who seemed so powerful and intimidating in your childhood was also a frightened child at some point. Now imagine your father as an old man, at the end of his life, reflecting on his choices and relationships. See the possible sadness he carries for not having been the father he wished he could be. Allow yourself to feel compassion for this soul, who was also going through a difficult journey on this complicated planet. Forgiveness also means stopping the expectation that he will become different from who he is so that you can be happy. It means fully accepting the reality of who he is, with all his limitations, and choosing to build your happiness independently of those limitations. When you truly forgive, something extraordinary happens in the energetic field between you. The dynamic may begin to change in surprising ways. He may become more open, more affectionate, more willing to connect. Or nothing may change externally, but you change internally so deeply that the relationship becomes completely different for you. Many people resist forgiveness because they believe it means accepting unacceptable behaviors or putting themselves back into harmful situations. That is not it. You can completely forgive and still maintain healthy boundaries. You can feel compassion for someone and still choose not to have a close relationship with them. Forgiveness is about cleaning your own energetic house, not about moving into the house of the one who hurt you. There is also radical forgiveness, which goes even deeper. At this level, you recognize that your soul consciously chose to have exactly the experiences it had with your father. You thank him for perfectly playing the role your soul contracted for this life, even if that role was difficult and painful. At this level of forgiveness, you realize there is no victim and no perpetrator, only two souls fulfilling a sacred agreement for mutual growth. When you reach this state, the transformation is complete. You not only forgive, you become grateful. You not only free yourself from the past, you embrace everything you lived as perfectly necessary for becoming who you are today. And here is the final magic. When you truly forgive, you become capable of receiving all the love your father always had for you, but perhaps could not express in a way you could understand. Forgiveness removes the barriers that prevented that love from flowing freely between you. Forgiveness is the portal that transforms your greatest wound into your greatest source of strength and wisdom. Every human being, regardless of gender, carries within both feminine and masculine energy. Masculine energy has nothing to do with being a man or woman. It has to do with qualities such as protection, direction, structure, courage, determination, and focused action. Your father was your first model of how this masculine energy expresses itself in the world. Through him, you learned, positively or negatively, about leadership, protection, provision, strength, discipline, and masculine presence. If your father expressed this energy in a balanced way, you were fortunate to see a healthy model of the sacred masculine in action. If he expressed it in a distorted way, through aggressiveness, excessive control, emotional coldness, or total absence, you learned about the wounded masculine, but you still learned. The crucial point is this: regardless of how your father expressed his masculinity, you now have the opportunity to consciously integrate your own balanced version of this energy. For many people, especially those who had problematic fathers, there is a tendency to completely reject any expression of masculine energy. I will never be controlling like him. I will never be that cold. I will never impose my will on others. But when you completely reject the masculine because of the distortions you saw, you deprive yourself of essential qualities for a full life. You may become someone who cannot take a stand, who avoids necessary conflicts, who does not know how to create structures and healthy boundaries, who struggles to make firm decisions. The healthy integration of the sacred masculine means taking the positive aspects you observed in your father and other male figures and consciously discarding the dysfunctional aspects. From the rigid father, you can integrate discipline without inflexibility. From the obsessive provider father, you can embrace responsibility without workaholism. From the emotionally closed father, you can develop inner strength without losing the ability to be vulnerable. When you consciously integrate your sacred masculine, something powerful happens. You stop needing other men, including your father, to play that role for you. You become your own inner father figure. This means developing the ability to protect yourself, to create structure in your life, to make courageous decisions, to take a firm stand when necessary. It means becoming someone you yourself can trust. Someone who honors their own commitments, who values themselves enough to establish healthy boundaries. For those who grew up with an absent father, this integration is especially transformative. You realize that you can give yourself all the protection, guidance, and support you expected from him. You become both father and mother to yourself in a balanced way. For those who had a controlling father, integration allows you to take healthy control of your own life without becoming controlling with others. You direct your strength toward constructive goals, instead of using it to dominate people. For those who lived with an addicted or unstable father, integrating the sacred masculine means becoming the stable and reliable presence you always wished to have around. The integrated sacred masculine is not aggressive, it is assertive. It is not controlling, it is directed. It is not cold, it is centered. It is not domineering, it is protective. It is not inflexible, it is determined. When you develop these qualities within yourself, your relationship with your father automatically transforms. You stop expecting him to be different because you no longer need him to fulfill functions that you now fulfill yourself. You can appreciate the positive qualities he has without being frustrated by his limitations. More importantly, you break the chain of wounded masculinity that may have been passed down through generations in your family. When you consciously integrate your sacred masculine, you become a healthy model for the next generations, your children, nephews, or young people who may be inspired by you. This integration is one of the greatest gifts you can give not only to yourself but to the world. When you express balanced, sacred masculinity, you help raise the overall standard of how this energy manifests on the planet. And when you no longer need your father to be the bearer of the perfect masculine energy for you, he often feels freer to express more authentic and affectionate aspects of his own personality.